Welcome back to CECC 2022. We are proud to welcome you from the desk here. We had a great first match, win all 5 rounds in our Super Smash Brothers crew battles, and now we're going in for one more. We're about to see University of Central Florida versus Georgia State University. Thoughts, anyone?
I'm going to start with GSU, actually. I think they're a team that provides a ton of confidence. Very, very solid roster, and a program that's only been around for about a year, which is really cool. But when we query, we sent out a query of hey, we want to know about your players. Everybody, consensus, what's your goal? Win. That's all they responded. We're ready. We got this. Those are all their responses. So very confident team in GSU.
Yeah, definitely a good goal to have. I mean, just win forehead, right? That's just the best thing it is that you could live by, right? And it's important to have that confidence because it's not talked about as much as I feel like it should be, which is mental game. It's mental stack, right? Yeah. No matter what esport it is you look at, no matter what competitive game it is that you understand, it's always strategy. It's always a mental state because you're playing for long hours. It's not like a one and done sort of deal a lot of the time. So it's a lot to be able to have that mindset of being that's our goal. We're just going to win, right? And hey, more power to them.
I think what Georgia State has got going for them is something a couple of other local teams have. Is they're local, so they can have some supporters come out to the venue more easily than from other places. And another thing you can take a look at is it's collegiate esports. Not a lot of these players get to play on a LAN. That's why we have these competitions, is because anyone can become a LANimal, and if you have support in the crowd, it could be you. So Georgia State, you can't put anyone at the bottom of the list when it's in person, no ping. You're not playing from your school's facility where it's just you and your team or maybe your coach. There's actual fans out there. You're going to hear some extra noise outside your headphones. So some people could get dangerously nervous, or some people could rise to the occasion.
I think you're paying attention. That's UCF, and obviously they're not feeling too bad. So obviously we talked a lot about GSU, but for Central Florida, the big person to pay attention to, Javi. That villager is a monster and is probably going to tilt a lot of people. I know you were talking about villager earlier, man.
Absolutely.
And, I look forward to it.
I know that people in the chat, I know probably people at home, maybe even some of the audience, maybe some of the players. Villager is one of those characters that is very prevalent. It's something called, which all of you Call of Duty players know, I'm sure, camping, right? Which is something it is that he does the best, right? They do it absolutely.
Just water the plant.
Water the tree. You throw out a lot of your projectiles. You're going to pretty much play a very evasive game, which is sort of wears down the opponent. It's actually interesting because there's a rule in Smash where you can't really stall that long. You have to engage with a person after a certain amount of time, right? But villagers definitely play the outside of that rule. They definitely make it to the last second and then they go in, So it's always about finding your opportunity, which is a very interesting play style as opposed to a lot of the more aggressive ones we've seen so far.
Well, speaking of not stalling too long, let's get right into this game.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We are here ready to start off UCF, excuse me. I'm getting all flustered, versus Georgia State University. We've got the two teams on the stage, and we've got myself and Max here behind the scenes ready to bring you all the action. It's going to be a great time, and of course, you can't have a great time without some great players. So, Max, why don't you tell me a little bit more about these two rosters?
So, of course, there's Georgia State coming up. They have Miss Mango on the plant and me, Gunner. Omega, one of the best players in all of Georgia with the Joker. And they also are going to be fielding Stain, a player who I'm unfamiliar with and not sure what his character is going to be.
I believe Stain could be going with a number of characters, but probably the Captain Falcon, which is always a treat to see, as well as I do. And then on the other side, at least based on how they're sitting, in their sitting order, which is not necessarily the order they're going to play the players, but I do think UCF is going to be starting off with Javi on Earth. There he is, yep. Give us a little and then going either to Jake or Psychic, so that's the Steve and the Ness. Very, very interesting potential starters, but it looks like we are guaranteed Gunner versus Villager to start off our first game, which that's an interesting one.
Yeah, a little bit of a slow burn matchup. Of course, two characters that like keeping their distance from you. Villager, one of the best at countering other zoners, though. Of course, you've got the pocket, right? So you can steal, say, a charge shot or some kind of projectile from me, Gunner, send it right back their way. And it can be very annoying to deal with that, especially with Villager's own slingshot projectile. Shout out to slingshotting, by the way, newly discovered tech.
Newly discovered tech that I've seen a lot of players playing around with implementation of. I don't know if we're going to see too much of it here. It is brand new. You might not want to be pulling it out in matches this valuable, but we will see one kind of slingshot in this match, and that is Villager's Fair and Bear. We're going to have to see how Javi can use that to just practically harass me, Gunner. It's not ever going to be, this is a big deciding hitbox unless it's used as an edge guard. It's more so, I'm going to keep interrupting you. I'm not going to let you get anything off. I'm not going to let you get these startups. And yeah, right off the bat, a couple of slingshots coming through from Hobby. Pockets that grenade as well, and now is going to hold it as a constant threat.
Oh, and of course, Me Gunner, great against other projectile characters if you opt for that reflector down B, and that's what we're going to see Miss Mango starting off with here. So very smart, but these characters will be able to send each other stuff back their way. Oh my god, look at all the setups though from Hobby. Absolutely crazy. We got the potted plants from the dash attack, bowling balls, Lloyd rockets, slingshots, etc. And also worth pointing out, Me Gunner, their forward air is the same effectively as Villagers, right? Plus you get that backwards momentum.
I was about to say, the interesting thing about Me Gunner Fair that I've seen so many good players make use of is that immediate shift back on it. You can use it to mix up so often, but you're not going to be able to mix your way out of a triple turnip up air as Hobby finds that first stock, but then falls victim to a little bit of a not so great scoop hitbox on the up smash.
Yeah, unfortunately, that just didn't connect at all, but Hobby having no trouble building up some extra credit here. Only 23 to start, but of course, very healthy here with only 60 on this stock. We could see it go the distance for sure. Setting up the ledge with the Lloyd rocket. Oh, man, looking for a huge bowling ball there.
Wanted the roll get up, or the neutral get up rather, and an immediate punish at it too, but Hobby has now managed to lap Miss Mango in terms of percents. This is already not looking like a fantastic start for the representative from GSU. Going to be trying to get this ledge trap, but B reverses there instead to send a grenade the opposite direction and set up for that back air. Hobby, though, going to keep making liberal use of that pocket to make sure that they don't really have to deal with too much of a threat. This time does roll into the grenade, though, so is in a little bit of danger.
Yeah, there is, of course, that double-edged sword to Villager's pocket, right? Unlike a traditional reflector, once you have something in your pocket, you have to let it go before you can pocket something again. So I think Miss Mango's game plan could shift to, hey, let's give him something to hold on to and then spam projectiles. Much like when you fight Game & Watch, right? You can fill his bucket intentionally and then just hit that B button a couple more times and keep him out.
You just have to worry about the constant threat of it being thrown right back in your face, as always. But Hobby, despite losing that first stock to maybe a misinput up B, getting caught by the up tilt, immediately fires back and takes another. So we find ourselves at 7-8.
Actually, I believe it's tied according to Hobby's tag. One does equal two. So
Hobby's been running that tag since CEO in July, I believe.
It's been a long time. I'm sure that there's a fascinating YouTube video about that math right there. Okay.
Canceling out the rocket with the slingshot. I find this really interesting that Hobby is not just using the slingshot fair and bear to hit Me Gunner, is also using it to hit Me Gunner's projectile, saying, hey, I don't want to deal with this, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, you don't always have to use your anti-projectile tool, right? You can just clank stuff out most of the time. Most projectiles in the game will allow you to do that, but not all of them. Here we've got Hobby yet again stealing a grenade away from Miss Mango, saying, hey, you got to think twice about everything you throw my way. Oh, missing the ledge on the recovery, but maybe on purpose there. Miss Mango now back out, not quite center stage, still cornering herself, but okay, wow, love that lockdown from the grenade into the grab, unable to complete the up air. Oh, but maybe again on purpose, using that as a drag down into up tilt.
Yeah, I've seen that drag down up air into up tilt many times on Me Gunner, but we're not going to be seeing it any more times in this crew battle as Hobby finds the berry into the up smash to close out the first opponent coming through from GSU and still holding on to 2 stocks. Very well played by them, but I do want to talk about You come up against a projectile character, right? You're a villager. You got some projectiles of your own. What are you going to do? Throw the kitchen sink at them. That's what Hobby did. Hobby made sure that there was always 1, 2, 3, even 4 sometimes projectiles on the screen, and all of them heading straight for Miss Mango's face. Was making use of sometimes even the wood dropped from chopping the tree. The projectiles from the slingshot was making use of the Lloyd rocket. Was making use of Miss Mango's own projectiles. There was just no safe zone, and that's always tough to deal with when you have nowhere to rest.
Yeah, it's super difficult when the screen is so busy like that, right? Oh my god, the berries into up smash. Really the MVP of the match there for Hobby, right?
Twice.
See 2 kills coming his way because of that. Great tech chase too. A lot of players there, they get knocked down in the corner. They want center stage so badly. Hobby very aware of that. As a seasoned player, has been doing it since the Smash 4 days with the same character too.
Shout outs to the UCF cheerleading squad that we see in the stands there holding up the signs.
Yes, sir. The Knights came in full force this weekend. And Javi's showing you why this team is one of the favorites to take the whole thing. They are definitely projected to make it to the finals against Bay State. They're the 1 and 2 seeds. So we'll see if things go that way, or maybe staying on the Falcon will come make some changes to everybody's bracket predictions, right? This is a character who's so volatile in both directions. He can either destroy you or be destroyed very easily.
Right, Captain Falcon always feels like a coin toss both for you and the opponent. It's like, how am I feeling? How are you feeling? How is that going to interact with each other? Okay, it's my turn. I'm going to find a crazy combo, get it into a knee, and take you down at 50%. It's always a coin toss.
Yep, we saw a very different match to kick things off, right? Miss Mango's Me Gunner. Of course, that's a character that kind of likes to just play the long game, right? And so does Villager, but now Javi going to be met with a clashing style in the form of Captain Falcon. Very rushdown-oriented character, very mix-up heavy as well. We're going to see that constant stream of either dash attacks or dash grabs to open things up. But Villager does have one very important saving grace in this matchup, and that's being a small target with a good combo-breaking aerial like Villager's neutral air.
Right, and the other biggest thing about Villager in this situation is that a lot of the time, Villager is not going to be on the ground. Does not have to worry about those grabs. Is going to be constantly short hopping, constantly full hopping like we're seeing right here. So it's already like a built-in counterplay to grab in your default play style. Stain's going to have to find a way to deal with that, trying to find a way to force Javi to the ground. But one thing that's always interesting is seeing how Captain Falcon players mix up that aerial drift so that they can avoid threats at the ledge like that bowling ball or like Villager's other 2 framing options. But wow, he's going to have to find some way to get back, and he does indeed.
Oh, maybe looking to set up a spike right there, but unable to position himself properly. Stain had a moment of brilliance there, but Javi, good survivalist instinct here, still hanging on to the stock. But that's what Falcon can do, right? If he gets you over the edge of the stage, just a simple down air can end your life at any percent, really, but certainly in the 60s like this.
Look at that catch out of the nair with the bear. Javi immediately following it up to make sure that, oh, you thought you had bad stage positioning after getting hit by this? See what's going to happen after this hitbox. And I think that is going to be the stock. No, Javi misspaces the bear, does not catch Stain's rising up B, so is not able to close it out, and Stain might make him regret it, but no, Javi does not roll out, does not fall victim to one of the classic blunders.
Oh, and we're seeing that air drift mix-up that you were talking about last. Several times, Stain has managed to keep Javi off of his trail off stage, but finally going to go down north of 170% there, too. And Javi with a very similar opening to this set that we saw from Lucy in the last one, just kind of steamrolling the first 2 players. Oh, and barely off the mark for the sweet spot knee.
Wanted that stomp knee, El Clasico for the longest time. Not able to find it, though, so is going to have to deal with Javi's second stock a while longer. It's now 8-5. Javi looking to up that KO count, pad his stats a little bit before they move farther into the bracket.
Yeah, the KD ratio looking pretty good so far, 4-1 in Javi's favor, of course.
Throwing that potted plant out there, also trying to knock up high and catches the neutral get up there with a bowling ball, taking a 5th stock and potentially looking for a 6th here. This is not a good spot to be in if you're Stain.
Oh, looking for the neutral air 1 on landing. That's such a good opener for Falcon. He can get a lot of combos off that. Not going to find it, though, and we've got Javi just continuing this defense. No, not for much longer. Falcon kick, bursting him out of the corner and taking that, finally, taking the first stock of this game, but second one of Javi's lineup.
And I'm surprised we haven't seen more of those Falcon kicks out of the corner, or maybe even Raptor boost on occasion if he can catch the correct angle on it, because those quick burst options to use are so important versus a character that's trying to slow down your play. Being able to immediately invade their space and saying, hey, this is not neutral. I'm at advantage and you're going to have to deal with it.
Yep. You do have to be wary with that, though, especially against a player as experienced as Javi. Those options, while they are good, they're kind of predictable, and so was that ledge jump. At least for a player like this guy, he's like, hey, I'm a step ahead at all times. You want to go over this tree? Well, you're not getting over the turnips.
Yeah, and it was a triple turnip as well, just kind of the worst case scenario for Stain in that situation. Just tried to get off of ledge, and he hadn't even been too predictable on the ledge throughout that. It wasn't like, oh, he's jumping every time, or oh, he's rolling every time. No, Javi just happened to get a fantastic read, got the good RNG on those turnips, and as a result, takes their 6th stock, which is the 2nd time in a row I've been able to say that. Yeah,
the 6-to-2 KD ratio right now. Of course, we don't typically measure KDs like that in Smash, but in a crew battle, it's funny to think about it. And yeah, as we see here in the Barbasol replay, that Falcon kick busting him out of a bad spot. But right here, this is where you see the conditioning from Javi come into play. He's going to set that tree up, fake the ledge trump, and then just cover the ledge jump.
I didn't even notice the fake ledge trump there too. That's so much pressure being put on Stain in such a short amount of time. Of course you're going to panic. Of course you're going to try and pick the fastest available option to get yourself out of dodge. But, well, when you're set up for that, of course that's not going to be the correct choice. Javi ready and willing to cover that with the up air, and as a result sends Georgia down to their final remaining player. But that final remaining player is not one to be trifled with. That is Omega, one of Georgia's top players just in general.
Yeah, a player who's really been on the rise in the last few months as well. I believe he kind of just burst onto the scene with like newfound willpower, so to speak, after the quarantine started to slow down, you know, making a real impression on his region and kind of on the Smash scene at large. You know, Omega is definitely a recognizable name nowadays. So, yeah, Javi going up against him with only one stock, it's going to be a tough road, especially a character like Joker who can just take a little bit of damage and then completely steamroll you in return.
Now, Omega does have a couple other characters in the pocket, namely the Sephiroth, which actually has a Zomba win. If you recall back when Zomba was down here in Georgia visiting, did fall victim to Omega's Sephiroth. And the reason why I'm bringing up the Sephiroth is because one of UCF's biggest threats is Jake, which Sephiroth does very well against, so I could have seen him locking onto that just so that he had a tool to deal with Jake, but nope, sticking to the tried and true here, bringing out the Joker, going to try and deal with Javi here, and look, he's very excited for that. That's 3 exclamation marks.
Omega definitely making sure to bring his A game as the anchor for Georgia State here. And wow, 73 damage on Javi already, only taking 15 in response. I love the down gun loops here. Wow, what? How are you alive? I mean, not even alive, but how did he not get hit off of the up B there is my question.
It was more so Omega wasn't expecting Javi to continue drifting towards center stage and picked the wrong option to punish, and no way are you going to lose your life off of that.
No way! No! He got knocked off stage at 37% last. 2 quick bowling balls just to put a cap on that stock, and Javi not letting up at all. 7 stocks down from GSU by the hands of 1 player.
You know, Lawler on the desk before this was talking about, hey, Javi's a huge threat here from this roster, and I was kind of sitting here thinking, like, really, you're not... No way!
No! Are we getting a Javi solo?
Not this late in the bracket, right? There's no... Omega has to find something at the ledge here. Is going to make this a closer game with this ledge trap.
Okay.
Yes.
Man.
I would have looked stupid if he did not hit that.
Javi stocks are soaring right now. That's not Javi on Earth. That's Javi to the moon, baby.
Javi in space by this point has to be able to pat himself on the back after that. Coming out of the gate swinging and drops a couple bowling balls on the heads of the competition. Takes out 2 stocks from Omega over the course of like a minute, maybe?
Yeah, that was absolute
Look
savage.
at this.
Look at this. 37 to 58, and then, yeah, just 1 more and he's dead. Oh, God. The power of Villanger's forward smash. Not a move you want to sleep on by the ledge, but here we go. The last Barbasol replay of the match is going to be Omega just tying it up here with the back air. Of course, one of Joker's best moves overall, but especially for ledge trapping.
And an easy read, too, there. Villagers do love their ledge drop full hop fairs. It's one of their strongest tools to get out of pressure if you're not expecting it, but if you are, as Omega was, ready for it to happen, it's very easy to just throw out a hitbox and adios.
Yep, and you can also clank out the pellet from the slingshot if you have if you're a little bit slow and they manage to get it out. So great job there by Omega, but still Javi, what a run!
Yeah, like Omega's still kicking, still has 1 stock remaining, but it's 1 stock versus 6. It's not an easy thing to do, and it looks like they're also going to be holding Jake in reserves, going to be using him as the anchor, as the safety blanket, the just in case, the panic button, should the worst case scenario come to pass. But he's got 1 stock, and he's going up against a Ness, a character that can very easily evaporate you if you pick wrong.
Yeah, I think Ness is pretty well equipped for fighting Joker as well. We're going to see Psychic come in on the UCF team, if I'm not mistaken. They also have Nave on the Ken. I believe that's their player furthest to the left of your screen right now. Ness, I think, is just such a good pick because, 1, you can edge guard Joker very well with the tail of PK Thunder as he's trying to reel in on his tether. 2, you're just a small target with Joker, which Joker does not enjoy dealing with. You can also shut down Aha and Aegon as zoning tools with your side magnet. You've got great kill options, great buttons to mash out of disadvantage. Oh, and it is going to be Nave. Okay. All right, excuse me, guys. Sorry for that. Didn't recognize either player by face, but yeah, it's going to be Nave on the Ken coming out. This is a character who can also mop 1 stock up so quickly.
That's also the problem with going to LAN for the first time in a while when you've been online for so long. Know the name, know the character, don't really know the face all that well, but this is a face that we're probably going to be remembering after this one, as Nabe is looking to make this happen, gets the down tilt into the Tatsumaki to take 42%, and we've seen Ken's kill power in the past. This could be disastrous if you get caught by one stray Shoryu.
Yeah, and of course those ultra quick tilts up and down, both confirming into that. And yeah, you're just pretty much gone around the 95% mark with a character like Joker, depending on the amount of rage Ken has.
We are watching this record on repeat. Down tilt, full hop nair. Down tilt, full hop nair. And it's working. That's going to be the up tilt into the crescent kick there at the ledge. 99 point.
No way! Oh, he just did
What
it
did I
straight
say?
up! Yeah, one straight Shoryu.
Stray Shoryu comes through, and that is going to be UCF taking the crew battle 6-0.
My lord, what a dominant run there. I mean, we saw MSU versus NJCU first, and Hydra on Anchor was able to bring that really close, but unfortunately, Omega just not able to replicate that. He bled out so hard against Javi.
Well, it was just the bowling balls. Like,
Yep.
what do you do there as Joker? Joker, one of his biggest weaknesses, in addition to the poor out of shield game, is as a character, he has a very linear recovery. Once that double jump is gone, you can only go so far, and you can only go in one direction. So a character like Villager that just takes a pillar of death and puts it off stage in front of the ledge is going to be able to find situations like that and going to be able to rack up that many stocks. So congratulations to UCF, and a special congratulations, of course, to the definite MVP of that match, Javi on Earth, for taking 8 whole stocks, as we're going to see basically a highlight reel in the Barbasol instant replay for Javi here.
Yeah, that was absolutely insane, man. Particularly the match against Omega, right? It looked like Roadrunner versus Wile E. Coyote. Somebody should check that bowling ball for a sticker that says Acme on it. Yeah. All right, and yeah, here's the first of 2 in this match. And
run it back.
This one might have even been more savage. It was just right off of the tether. Joker with no hope of coming back from that. But hey, that's a replay of me tucking my shirt in.
Well, you see me losing my mind as the second bowling ball finds its mark. Shout outs to Barbasol for letting people see the behind the scenes while we lose our minds here. But that is going to be it for our second match of the day. We've got one more coming at you, but before that, let's throw it back to our friends on the desk. Right to you.
Open the mics and go.
Thanks so much. What a great match. We are seeing some awesome play so far. I want to dive right into talking about Javi and Villager, especially in that round 3.
Oh boy.
The bowling balls, the 37%. Walk us through that.
Demonic. Demon is
Evil.
built different, you know, constructed alternatively. Whatever it is that your language might actually phrase that as. But regardless of the fact, that's exactly what I was talking about with Villager. There's a reason why a lot of people don't like playing that character or playing against that character at a high level. It's specifically for that reason. But it was interesting how he was actually playing him, because even though it was still sort of the keep away play style, it was a lot of it was still being aggressive, right? Still stayed within that range, still stayed within that radius, so that way it's an easy confirm. If he manages to get anything from that slingshot, if he manages to get anything from that rocket, he can confirm it to it easily, knock them off stage, and then set up for what you might typically see of him gardening, right? Planting the tree, letting it grow, things of that nature. Like that's that character in a nutshell. I mean, well played, but also like you're a demon. Why would you do this? Like,
What about the character choices we saw overall, trying to go up against Villager, or even when we saw Ken come out?
I had talked about it a little bit beforehand. I'm not a big fan of the Falcon into the Villager. It's because of the fact that Falcon is such an in-your-face sort of character, and Villager is like, once again, devious, a duplicitous act committing upon Falcon, right? Like, it's a situation where,
This guy, what, you got a thesaurus under here?
it's literally a situation
The collegiate? He's breaking out the college education over here.
you have to really be careful when you're dealing with a situation like that, because you're dealing with Falcon and Villager, right? Falcon is one of those characters that always wants to get in close. He wants to be up and personal. Villager doesn't want that. He wants you to keep away, COVID safety, right? Obviously keep a sound distance in between you and the character in front of you. So that's exactly what he was doing the entire time. And then of course, the Falcon.
Oh, look at that.
A
There's
guest
Falcon.
appearance from a Falcon. Not the Captain Falcon, but the captain of the Falcons.
Number
that guy
00
can be my
there.
captain. I'll give it to him.
Yeah,
He's my
absolutely.
captain.
Absolutely.
All right, now we got the deep, in-depth analysis from Fawn, but what about you two as audience members? How are you
Bowling ball go
feeling after
boom.
that?
Oh my God. Last, we want to do the complete antithesis of whatever he's saying, you know? Like, no, Last was like trying to say something about me on the desk and then immediately cut himself off because bowling ball at 37% and just knocked off. Like, those pop-off moments are so much fun in Smash. You know, like when you get to be a fan of the game, I think is when it all ties it back. And when we're all like sitting back, like freaking out because of what's being held with that ledge guard is just, it's unbelievable. So yeah, Javi's that boy's a menace. He's not
Demonic.
fun. That's, yeah, adjectives, him. Give it to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
I don't know. What do you think, Blue? Demonic or angelic?
I think it's kind of both, right? Because when I'm looking at this roster sheet that I was preparing, and I watched all these VODs, and I'm like, oh, St. Thomas, Derpinger with this villager, this is insane. And then all of a sudden I see Javi on this villager, I'm like, all right, everybody who uses villager must be a demon. And then, the roster also says Javi is their anchor, and I'm like, fine, why are they going first? Why are they going first? And he's like, he could set them up nicely. And they did. I mean, it took 8 stocks out of 9. That's insane. I'm sitting here like, we just saw Hydra have to make a miraculous comeback. This is impossible almost, and it looked that way.
Yeah, for a brief moment, the casters were like, are we going to see a solo here? Did you guys think it would happen?
It was. I'm not going to lie to you. My heart was in the right place when I was watching the match, right? But it was only after the first bowling ball hit that I went, oh no. And then the second one hit, and I was like, oh no. And so from there, I thought that, yeah, we definitely could see a solo, right? But thankfully, Joker and all of his top tier paid DLC glory is actually going to be able to take that one, so it's perfect, right? It actually works out perfectly. Sets it up perfectly to be able to at least catch the last stock, so that way he can sort of set up for the rest of his team. But it got really close. I was not expecting those bowling balls to go as far as they were. I was expecting that to hit. Because Joker has such a good recovery. The up B can tether straight to the ledge, so I was expecting it to at least be maybe a little bit farther spread out, but I mean, he got clipped by both of them. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest with you.
So far, we haven't seen any really just stomps. I mean, Javi came out and really played like a demon, as you said. But we've seen games that are very, very competitive. Games that we can watch all the way through, rounds that we can watch with not knowing what's going to happen next. Do you think we'll continue to see games like that as we move through the tournament, or do you feel like there are some powerhouses that they're just going to come out and stomp their competition?
I think when we take a look at the lower bracket, you may see some pretty one-sided stuff where, you see some of these guys in the upper brackets where they do go into the winter semifinals and stuff. They get knocked down and then they go play that gauntlet in the lower and make that bracket run back. But I think a lot of it's going to play out to picks. We were talking a lot about that Falcon pick as well. And there was a lot of times when those counters do come out, but a lot of these players are specialized with one character. So you may see a little bit of one-sided, not to discredit Javi. Javi played phenomenally, but the Falcon really played into his hands. So I do think that it's going to become closer and closer as we get further on, as we get to some of our more highlight experienced players, not to discredit anybody, because put on a fight.
Yeah.
Talking about who comes out first, who comes out last, anchors, if somebody's not familiar with that terminology or that strategy, how would you break that down for them?
So I think the best way to sort of break that down is you typically have your lead, your star player, right? The reason why is typically like Javi, I mean, Blue had mentioned it before, we all had, is the fact that the ordering was different than what it was that we had seen within our notes, right? And Javi on the Villager is going to be the lead, right? Typically the person that sets up the rest of the team. If they can take a stock, great, right? That's going to be what we rely on. The anchor is typically going to be the strongest player it is that you have, because you're going to want the best in your back pocket, right? You have the mid that sort of stabilizes things. If there's anything that's sort of out of position, you're going to want the mid player to sort of take whatever it is that they can, right? If there's a few stocks left over, you're going to want to get rid of those. But for the most part, the mid player is there to sort of stabilize things. And then anchor is, once again, as I said, typically your best player. You're going to want to make sure that they're the ones always in the front and sort of taking the lead, taking the charge there, and making sure that they can close out your game pretty nicely.
Great. All right, we're going to take a very quick break, but when we come back, we will have Bay State versus MSU. So get hyped and don't go anywhere.